What's up, dudes? I'm Bulldogs Hunter, and welcome back to episode 3 of Take Every Fight, Brawling on a Budget. By now, you probably know the drill. If not, you can check out episodes 1 and 2 to get caught up. Today, we're flying the MOA. No gimmicks, no tricks, just a big, beefy brawler. It's a Caldari cruiser with bonuses to shield resistances and turret damage. So we're going to be leading hard on our EHP and trying to win the DPS race by simply outlasting our targets. We had some close ones in this episode, and I definitely learned some valuable lessons about engagement profiles. So let's get into our fit breakdown. We are rocking a full rack of heavy electron blasters in our high slots, some smaller guns to save fitting room so we can go all in on our tank. Moving into our mid slots, we have a 10MN afterburner, a scram, web, and a multi-spectrum shield hardener to boost our resists. And yep, we crammed an XL ancillary shield booster onto this beast. If we overheat it properly, we're looking at about 17,000 base EHP and an extra 31.5 thousand EHP from the ancillary shield booster. Then moving into our lows, we have a coprocessor 2 because that XLASB takes up a lot of CPU. Then we have 2 mag stabs for DPS, and then a damage control 2, naturally. Then moving into our rigs, we are going all in on resist today. We have an EM, thermal, and kinetic shield reinforcer, so we can squeeze every last drop out of that ASB. And for our drones, we only get 3, so I'm going to be running acolytes or warriors, just something to annoy frigates, which are honestly going to be the bane of this fit's existence. Then for drugs, I went with Synth Blue Pill and Hardshell 2. Yeah, it pushes us slightly over that 50 mil mark, but for an extra 3,500 EHP, I think it's totally worth it. All told, that's over 50,000 EHP and around 600 DPS with Void, which is not too bad for a T1 cruiser. So let's get into our first fight, a Coercer Navy Issue. He started a bit far off, and I was a little bit worried he'd try to kite me, but I managed to close the gap pretty fast, and I had it all loaded just in case he tried to keep range on me, and his Coercer went down pretty easily. But then I looked at his kill board, and I see that he's actually 4 days old. You know, at first I thought, okay, probably just someone's ult, but I reach out to him, and nope. This dude is actually a Newbro, out solo roaming in a faction destroyer on day 4. So I was impressed. I sent him 100 million ISK and gave him some advice on fittings and PvP, told him to reach out if he ever had any questions. Then 2 days later, I log into Eve and I see I got an Eve mail. Subject, I did it. He linked a kill mill of a slasher, he took down a Punisher, and thanked me for the help. Day 6 of his Eve life. First solo kill. Honestly, that stuff hits you in the feels. Low Sec just got itself another bloodthirsty pirate, and I couldn't be any happier. Anyway, heartwarming stories aside, let's move into our next fight. So, remember how I said frigates are our biggest weakness? Yeah, let's call that foreshadowing. Because next, I ran into a single, lowly Navy Comet. How bad could one little frigate be, right? Right? Well, remember how our arbitrator took out the Ishkur without even breaking our shields? Well, we have a little bit more trouble here with this Comet. There was a Stabber fleet issue that I was kind of hoping to brawl, but this Comet kind of snuck up on me instead. I unfortunately kind of let him defang me without really any kind of a fight, and my turrets just could not track him. I was trying to fly away from him to kind of lower the transversal to be able to get some hits on him, but it just wasn't enough with that afterburner. So I just ended up kind of slowly dying to 1,000 papercuts. So the lesson here, just do not fight frigates. It's not going to end out very well. Then rolling into our third fight, I slid into an Exterior Navy Issue. Wanted to see how this would go. I got my damage out onto him first in this scenario, which ended up, I think, playing favorably for me. He obviously had range control, so he's a little bit faster than me, so I didn't really want to do anything to make my guns not be able to track. So I just ended up flying directly away from him, and he kind of just kept at range right behind me. And this just turned into a straight DPS race brawl. So I wanted to make sure I got overheated reps out of every one of my XLASB booster charges. And I wanted to try and have my hardener overheated for the entire fight. I started overheating my guns pretty early in the fight, but I actually probably could have started even earlier. And this is a really tanky Coercer Navy fit, and they do a lot of damage. So this is just a DPS race. Then right here, I decided to let my ancillary booster go for another round. And once you run out of cap charges, it will keep repping, but it takes your cap. So it almost capped me out, but I did get one more rep out of it. And that ended up being what I needed to win. And this was a really nasty fit. He had dual plates and dual webs. So this really just came down to me getting damage on him first, and that extra rep I got in there at the end. Then for our last fight, I slid into an Osprey Navy Issue. I wanted to get right up on top of him with Void and try and just brawl him down real fast. I was kind of hoping he had light missiles or rapid lights, and you know, you'd have a long reload, but he ended up actually having hams, which makes sense, but is not ideal for me. So he actually does a decent amount of damage. I was having some tracking issues here at the beginning, so I ended up flying away from him. And in this case, it does help me track a little bit better, but he didn't have any tracking issues from the get-go. So my guns are finally starting to track decently. My flying away from him is making his orbit not as drastic, so it's turning down his transversal velocity, so I'm actually starting to land some hits on him. And I overheat my afterburner here to kind of try and make that a little bit more drastic, so he's more chasing me than orbiting me. And he actually took the time here to switch from EM ammo to kinetic ammo. Like, still used rage missiles either way, but it actually was a worse decision since I have a higher kinetic resistance than EM. But I guess he just thought I was so tanky. Either way, he had to switch things up. But it does show a good job of trying to make adjustments mid-fight. Then right here, I think that's his last ancillary booster charge. So I actually have the advantage here since I have a few more booster charges left and he's out. But he actually decides to start scram kiting me here since he was out of booster charges, and this drastically lowers my damage. I start missing every shot. So this is a really smart adjustment by him, and I probably should have switched to my null ammo a lot sooner than I did. And then unfortunately I burned out my ancillary booster there just with like bleed through heat from my hardener and afterburner. But he was able to mitigate enough damage there to reload his ancillary shield booster. So that's gonna wrap up episode 3. Overall, the MOA surprised me. It's really tanky, hits pretty hard, but man, do not fight frigates. I hope you enjoyed the fights. If you haven't seen the early episodes, go check those out. And thanks for watching. Until next time, fly dangerous.